Kabbalah, as I said, means Jewish mysticism. So it's important not only to put the accent on mysticism, it's important to put the accent also on Jewish. In other words, that Kabbalah is a mystical tradition coming out of Judaism, and therefore is an inextricable part of the Jewish religious tradition, meaning its theology, its laws, its rituals, its holiday observances, and you cannot detach Kabbalah from Judaism. It would be like having a premise without a conclusion, which is a fallacy. And I say this because many people today are maintaining, and you see advertisements for courses today in Kabbalah, where they say, well, this has nothing to do with Judaism. It's impossible to have Jewish mysticism without Judaism. So Kabbalah is the mystical tradition of Judaism.
Most people, most religious people, whether they're Jewish or Christian, know this term in a certain way. I mean, in certain, if I'm not mistaken, the Sanhedrin was said to be the people who decided to turn in Jesus to be killed by the Romans. According to a book written by Chaim Cohen, who was one of the Chief Justices of Israel, he was first the Attorney General. He did an analysis of this story, of the various variants on the story, and as appears in Jewish texts and in Christian texts, it says it's not at all possible. It doesn't fit in with his legal framework of what was done at the time. This idea that the Sanhedrin turned anybody over to the Romans to be killed. Certainly in a person who behaved as Jesus is said to have behaved, both in the Christian writings and in the Talmud. In the Talmud it says that Jesus said at every opportunity that Jews should keep all the Torah. And so why should anybody have any problem with that? He may have been a little bit outspoken about what priests were doing, but there were plenty of people who were outspoken about that before. So, and they weren't turned over to the Romans. So the story certainly needs clarification, to say the least.
Where we're going now is a cave where we've learned for over 25 years, every Thursday night, men come from all over the country into this little special cave.
What's the significance of learning in a cave? Is it like Shimon Bar Yochai?
Pretty close to that, right. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai learned in a cave. He was forced to for 13 years.
He was in hiding.
He was in hiding. But there's a special energy in a cave. Let's see what we discover today inside the cave.
Wow.
Okay, be careful coming in.
Okay.
You see here, that's the bookshelf there. The Zohars.
Those are all Zohars.
And the writings of the Ari. Behind that, on top, is the famous thing that's in almost all synagogues. It's called a shiviti. It's a shiviti is from the verse in Psalm 16 that says, I place God before me at all times. So the name of God is here. And then below it is the main psalm here is Psalm 67, which has 49 words in it, which represents the concept of 7 times 7. And the middle verse, which is the middle trunk of the menorah, has 49 letters in it. So it's really a concept of 7. And the name of God over it represents the concept of 8, of infiniteness, shining down into the 7 branches of the menorah, which is this world.
Where should I sit? Here?
Yeah, let's see. Get a feel of the place.
Now, you did something. You do this all the time. You show your Jewishness whenever you can, right? I mean, as Mr. Spock.
I think you're right.
I mean, a lot of people do. A lot of people know what this means. Explain what this means.
Well, I remember vividly when I was about 7, 8, 9 years old, and I used to go to the temple with my parents, and particularly on the high holidays on Yom Kippur, and I would sit with my father. It was an Orthodox synagogue. My mother would be sitting upstairs in the balcony, and there was a moment when the congregation would be standing, and everybody would kind of turn their backs to the bima, and my father said to me, "Turn around, don't look." Now, when you're that age, you hear these people chanting that, and you hear some strange sounds coming. You think everybody's looking that way. I want to look that way and see what the magic is.
Right.
And I saw these men with the very large prayer shawls, the talesim, and they're under there with their hands like this. I thought, this is really a magic moment. It made a tremendous impression on me. And I had no idea why they were doing it or what it meant, but I started practicing to learn to do that. You know?
Even though you don't belong to that tribe.
No, I am not one of the Kohanim.
Right.
But it just seemed so magical to me. And eventually, of course, I learned why they were doing it and what it signified. There are a lot of stories, by the way, about, I'm sure you're aware, of what this signifies.
No, I'm not.
Well, there are a lot of stories about it. Some are actually Kabbalistic interpretations. The one that seems most likely is that this is the shape of the letter Shin, which is the first letter of the word Shaddai, which means the Almighty in Hebrew, so that they are using the letter of the Almighty's name, the initial of the Almighty's name, to bless the congregation.
Right.
And one day we were doing this.
I'm glad you came on that show to tell me those things.
You what?
I'm glad you came
That's
on my
why
show
I'm
to tell me
here.
this. Yes, absolutely. I love it.
One day we were making the Star Trek series in 1966, 67, thereabouts, and there came this episode where Spock was going home to his home planet for the first time, the planet Vulcan, and was going to meet the matriarch of the planet, played by a wonderful actress who's since gone, named Celia Lovsky. And we had this greeting scene to do. And I said to the director, I think Vulcans should do something special when they meet, like humans shake hands or they wave at each other. Military people salute each other. Maybe Vulcans do that. You know. And he had no idea what it was, but he said, okay.
Gene wasn't Jewish.
No, this was the director. It was not Gene Roddenberry. It was the director on the episode. But he said, fine, do that. And Celia and I exchanged that.
She did the same thing to you?
Well, yeah, we had to teach her how to do it, but she hadn't practiced as long as I had.
It is tough to do. It is tough to do. I remember when I was a child, I couldn't do it.
I know.
And there was another kid who said, well, you don't belong to that tribe. You're not supposed to do it.
I know. Well, that's part of the ritual of the Kohanim. But that's how it started.